Why was Socrates imprisoned and sentenced to death? How did a man who was so influential in Athenian life for decades, who would become one of the most influential philosophers in Western history, find himself behind bars awaiting to end his own life? By the time Socrates faced trial in 399 BC, Athens had just lost the Peloponnesian War against Sparta. This devastating conflict led to a catastrophic defeat for Athens, which shook the city's identity and political stability. To control Athens, Sparta gave power to the 30 tyrants, a short-lived but brutal oligarchic regime that ruled over the city with an iron fist. Their task was to dismantle Athenian democracy and install an oligarchy that would serve Spartan interests. And they proceeded to do so brutally, banishing women and children and murdering any Democrats that stood in their way. This lasted about a year when the 30 tyrants were eventually overthrown and democracy was re-established in Athens. But the city remained scared and deeply suspicious of dissent and unconventional ideas. Socrates' teachings and activities were inevitably entangled in this fraught political climate. While Socrates was well known and influential, he was not universally liked. His habit of questioning established norms made him enemies. He would engage in public debates in the agora, interrogating politicians, poets, and fellow citizens on issues like justice, beauty, and truth. His relentless questioning earned him a reputation as an intellectual gadfly, someone who provoked and irritated the powerful. Socrates also espoused anti-democratic views. He believed democracy was deeply flawed because effective policy could not be determined by the majority's opinion, but only through true knowledge and expertise, which only a select few possess. Although he never actively participated in politics, some of his students had been involved with the 30 tyrants, including Critias, one of their notorious leaders. Another of his students was Alcibiades, who betrayed Athens and defected to Sparta. While Socrates himself was not responsible for their actions, his association with these men and his criticism of the democratic system in Athens made him a target for those looking to restore order and stability in the city. When the 30 tyrants were overthrown, there was an amnesty to help heal the division. Nobody could be punished for their actions during and before the reign of the 30 tyrants. But following their demise, Socrates continued his teachings and amassed a new band of followers. With the wounds of the 30 tyrants still fresh, Athenian society was extra suspicious of anyone questioning democratic rule. In 399 BC, he was charged with impiety and corrupting the youth of Athens. The accusation of impiety stemmed from his perceived disrespect for the traditional gods of the city and for introducing new, unrecognized spiritual concepts. Namely, Socrates spoke of a daemon, an inner spirit that spoke to him and guided him. The charge of corrupting the youth was tied to his method of questioning and the influence he had on younger citizens. No doubt his anti-democratic views and the fact that some members of the 30 tyrants were former students were firmly in the minds of the jury. At the trial, Socrates was given the opportunity to defend himself, but rather than beg for mercy or attempt to placate the jury, he remained defiant. He denied the charges of corrupting the youth and introducing new gods, insisting that his only role had been to encourage his fellow citizens to think for themselves. His defense, as recorded by Plato, was marked by his characteristic irony and sharp wit. He questioned whether anyone would be willing to corrupt those around him, knowing that doing so would ultimately harm themselves. Socrates also made it clear that he would not abandon his philosophical mission, even if the jury acquitted him on the condition that he ceased his questioning, which of course would mean his refusal to cease questioning authority and democracy. This unwavering commitment to his ideals did not win over the jury. He was found guilty by a narrow margin. Following the guilty verdict, Socrates was given the opportunity to propose a punishment. While his accusers demanded the death penalty, Socrates sarcastically suggested that he should be rewarded with free meals for life given his service to Athens as a moral guide. When pressed to suggest a more serious penalty, he offered to pay a modest fee, which his followers could contribute to. However, the jury was unimpressed with this suggestion, and they ultimately sentenced him to death by consuming hemlock, a poisonous plant. There was an expectation that Socrates would simply escape and live out his life in exile, and he did have that opportunity to escape. But as a strong believer in civic obedience to the law and to the state, he thought it would be hypocritical of him to flee. Socrates met his death with the same calm dignity that characterized his life. In Plato's Phaedo, his final moments are described as serene, surrounded by his friends and disciples. He drank the poison without hesitation, continuing to engage in philosophical discussions until the very end. If you want more about Greek philosophers, check out this video about the very eccentric and unique life of Diogenes of Sinope. And if you liked the video and want to see more, please like and subscribe. See you next time.